I gotta tell you, after playing Mech Mage a lot, it feels like it's pretty bad versus Face Hunter.
Yeah, I think unless you draw something like the Neurotron on turn 2, you're just gonna, or a Neurotron even in the later stages of the game, you're gonna have a hard time tempering the aggression of the Face Hunter. But enough about Face Hunter. Let's get into this match.
Yeah, Druid for Savitz and Rogue for Kolento. And not really exciting starts for either of these players. Savitz has a wild growth, but not a lot of aggression coupled with it. And Kolento's got 2 copies of Deadly Poison, but nothing really to combo off of that. I think both these players are going to be sitting here for a little bit. This Earthen Ring Farseer very liable to get played just as a 3/3 body. He's going to go ahead and do that. And Savitz, he does have an option to just go ahead and straight away Harrison Jones this dagger. And there's 2 different reasons why he's doing this. The first one is he wants to disrupt any of the tempo that Kolento's trying to get from this one. And the second one is that he just wants to pick up 2 cards. So when he does this, he's digging for innervates. He's digging for more wraths. He's digging for strong 5-drops and 6-drops, trying to get to his combo turns. He's just really trying to make sure he has the strongest turns possible. Going forward from here, since his first real play of the game is a turn 3 Harrison Jones. Kolento just perfect counter to this, though.
Yeah, perfect counter. He's going to be able to essentially do things that Rogue typically does, using their efficient spells, efficient minions to get an early board lead and try to ride that lead into the late game, getting recursive damage every single turn. Unfortunately for Savitz, he does have the swipe. We saw in a previous game of Druid versus Rogue, where Kolento was the Rogue player, and unfortunately Calvi was the Druid, and he did not have a swipe in almost the exact same situation. We saw how that game ended for him when the Vile Teacher summoned over the course of the game about 8 1/1 tokens, and it just was too much for Calvi to manage, even though he had an insane card advantage.
Yeah, so Kolento, his draw is kind of dictating itself here. I think he's actually pretty much forced to go all in on this dagger here. So making a lot of tokens, and he's just kind of praying that Savitz doesn't have swipe here. And frankly, he just doesn't have another option. Like, he doesn't have a sprint, he doesn't have another Violet Teacher, he doesn't have Loatheb, and he has none of that stuff, so he has to go on in this dagger. He gets Savitz down to 17, but swipe is just going to perfectly clear this up right now. And I imagine this shade is going to stay hidden, but I can definitely make an argument for unveiling it right now and trying to pick up this 5-point dagger into it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's going to get traded into by the backstab SI most likely. And wow, that's like the best card that Kolento probably could have hoped for. Besides maybe an Azure Drake, Sprint's going to let him refill his entire hand, and he gets it almost exactly when he needs to.
Yeah. If he picks up Preparation next turn, this could be a really big board swing. So Savitz looking at a 5-point dagger. Dr. Boom seems like it's a pretty good play here. Kolento's got 8 points of damage on the board still too, and Savitz is at 15, so this sprint is going to be extremely important in what it picks up.
I think sprint is going to be the play here. Off of Azure Drake, what could Kolento hope to draw? Blade Flurry might be okay, but it doesn't feel like the best.
Yeah, I think I would tend to favor sprint here as well. If he's going to think about all the cards that Azure Drake can draw, though, just because he has the time to do it. So like, he's going to think to himself, if I draw Eviscerate, doesn't matter. If I draw Blade Flurry, doesn't matter, etc. And I think he's going to conclude that sprint is the best play as well. I think he just needs to get the ball rolling. If he picks up like a Tinker Oil and a Blade Flurry, I think he's got some really good arguments for closing this game out. And these 3 cards, oh my gosh, these are 4 extremely poor cards.
Yeah, he's really looking for the end game damage. As you said, the Tinker's Oil, maybe even an Eviscerate. Those are all just the game-winning cards. He's almost at the finish line right now, but he might fall just a bit short.
This 3 damage almost certainly go for face. I just don't think he can afford to attack Boombots or anything right now. So Savitz is certainly going to be mindful of the fact that Blade Flurry is likely available to Kolento at this point.
He is thinking about wrathing the SI agent. Okay, I thought the screen was frozen for a second. I was a bit worried there.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a taunt on this Druid of the Claw also, but we're going to take a look at the life totals real quick. So 9 points of damage, that's going to drop him to 17. And then he's going to have 13 points damage after that. Yeah, this is going to be a taunt for sure.
Yeah, I like the taunt a bit better because it's a bit awkward for Kolento to deal 1 extra damage to the Druid of the Claw if it goes into taunt mode. He's thinking about it though.
I definitely think there are some arguments for charging this, but I think when you're getting, again, when he's this close to the finish line, I think it's better to take sort of your defensive stances. This is a card I used to always charge. And really what ends up happening is the metagame is just developed to a point where people are trying to burst, but they're usually trying to burst in like, not like 20 damage combos, but sort of like 7 to 8 damage at a time, and really try to push forward from there. And stuff like Druid Claw and Taunt or Sludge Belcher really throws a wrench into those plans more so than it used to, I feel like. There's Eviscerate, but that's probably not going to be enough right now. He really needed a Blade Flurry.
Yeah, he has a few chances, or at least one chance to draw it. If he Aggro Drakes or a Fan of Knives and gets something like a Preparation, then he might have 2 chances to draw it. But yeah, unfortunately, no Blade Flurry now. He still has 1 more chance, or 1 or 2 more chances.
Yeah, Fan of Knives into Fan of Knives is also a possibility. That still gives him a chance for Blade Flurry.
That's true.
So 2 draws for it. That's not going to be it. And the Boombots deal 5 damage. That's exactly average.
You know, one thing I want to point out is this is kind of the battle of the high legend decks. Kalento recently got number 2 legend with this exact rogue deck, and Savit's got number 1 legend with this druid deck. So possibly 2 of each of these respective players' better decks right now.
I gotta believe this is other Fan of Knives. I mean, it feels like he needs. He just needs Blade Flurry so bad.
Yeah, Kalento has to be thinking there's some ways for his opponent to deal that extra damage, but South Sea deckhand is not it.
Yep. SI7 Agent and Eviscerate, I think, was the other play he was thinking about.
But yeah, that's going to be game over. And even Savage Lord to boot.
just in case he didn't have enough damage. Savit's going to jump out to a very quick 1-0 lead here. These decks are so aggressive in their nature. Kalento just, being forced to go all in that early, I think, is a position he didn't want to be in. But he recognized that's exactly what he had to do to try to pick up a win. So kudos to him for recognizing that. But just Swipe being such a brutal. The Wild Growth actually